Crawford was on this show and he said to Charlamagne that he'd be willing to fight you at 158. And I think you made a comment about that, saying there's levels and there are weight classes for a reason. So that fight is impossible, or could it ever be possible? You're never going down to 160.
No, I can't. I can't. It's impossible because, like he say, if he beat, no, everybody's gonna say, yeah, it's too small and this and that. So it's the same thing. I respect Crawford. He's a good fighter, but we're not different weight classes.
That's a mega fight, though, Canelo. Like, I mean, that's the last big mega fight out there.
Because of the way he beat Spence and how easy, they see there's no challenge around those divisions outside of Canelo. He's the only guy, and that's why I guess, to your point.
But I beat him. What are you going to say? That's too small. Right. That's too small.
You get what you asked for. If he asked for it, if he's saying he wanted.
You went up to 175.
Yeah, everybody wants to fight me. yeah. Everybody wants to fight me. That's true. But I know for that you need to get there and fight everybody. You know?
As a boxing fan, would you like to see him lose 8 pounds, get to 160 to fight Terence Crawford?
To be honest with you, as a fight fan, yeah, I would like, it would be an interesting fight. But I understand his point and all that he's accomplished. There's no reason for him to have to come down for Bud. But I can see how the fight is.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Hey, payday. Canelo Alvarez says a fight with Terence Crawford absolutely cannot happen unless Bud Crawford wants to move up to 168. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you guys come in, subscribe. I'm the best in the business, and it's not even close. We unpacked. Let's get unpacked. So, Mr. Payday, Canelo Alvarez, was a special guest on the popular show and radio show with Charlamagne the God, DJ Envy, The Breakfast Club. And he was being asked about a potential fight with Terence Bud Crawford. And I let you guys listen to it at the beginning of this video. He says, and since you guys heard it, I'll just paraphrase. Canelo Alvarez was asked about fighting at the weight that Terence Crawford mentioned, which was in the neighborhood of 160 or a catchweight of 158, a catchweight. He says, I'm not doing that. I can't do that. I can't go back down that far, which, if you think about it, makes a lot of sense. Anybody who knows boxing, I've said this for years, weight is not really something you typically want to play around with. Weight is something that you have to take very, very seriously. That's why I have the Ego Weight Watcher show and whatnot. And at the end of the day, you can't fool around. And most times, I can't say every time, but most times, I really feel that the people, when they start going backwards in their career, it's usually a bad sign. What do I mean? Like, let's say Curtis Stevens. Curtis Stevens was a middleweight and he ended up losing to Gennady. Max, Gennady Golovkin and things like that. So losing by knockout to David Lemieux and Triple G, you've seen late in his career, Curtis Stevens moved and dropped down to 154 pounds, right? I also seen this with Austin Trout. Austin Trout was at 154 pounds when he was fighting Cottos and Canelos and stuff like that. And he was fighting the Charlo brothers. But later in his career, he ended up dropping down to welterweight, right? So that's usually what guys do. They go backwards when they have to make additional sacrifices because maybe they can't compete with some of the elite levels at the higher weight classes, and or they've taken a bunch of losses or some losses. So then they try to go down. Because you think about it from the space of boxing, if, let's say, Austin Trout, if you're at 154 pounds and you keep racking up losses to the Charlo brothers and Canelo and stuff like that, I mean, what else can you do? Are you going to go, if you can't beat the top guys at 154, are you really going to move up to middleweight? And if guys didn't necessarily respect all your power at 154, are you going to really move up 6 pounds and go to middleweight where the guys are durable and probably more durable, hit a bit harder, etc.? So I have seen some guys later in their career make the sacrifice and actually drop down into a division when their career had some L's in it, just to test the waters and see if they can, just push themselves harder to make a deeper cut, a deeper weight cut, and compete in a lower weight class. But a guy like Canelo, he still only has 2 losses on his record, at least officially. So it wouldn't make sense for him to drop back down when he's competed as high as 175 pounds and then just drop down for Terence Crawford. I mean, this is not a knock on Terence Crawford, because Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, we just had the fight that everybody said they wanted to see, Spence versus Crawford, on pay-per-view. And I really thought the numbers would be a bit higher. That's just being honest. I think the numbers are solid. Hopefully everybody involved made some money, but I really expected them to be a bit higher. I thought the numbers would be higher than the reported 650, 700,000, because this was the undisputed fight. People were saying it's the Hagler Hearns of this generation, the best fight in the last 40 years. People were comparing it to these historic fights. I think it was promoted great. The fan excitement seemed like it was there, but I guess, it takes only certain fights because we're in the different times with the streaming. And since it's accessible to different people and they know how to do it, I guess a lot of people are just illegally streaming it. That's what it seems like. So it's going to take real big fights to thwart that and still put up a great number, like Ryan Garcia when he stepped up versus Gervonta Davis. So that being said, it's not a knock on Crawford, because it was Errol Spence and Crawford collectively that drew these 650,000 numbers. But that's not Canelo's highest. Canelo has fought Floyd Mayweather and did over 2.4 million, I think, pay-per-view buys. He's also done really great numbers with Triple G. He did, at least in the first 2 fights, he did over 1 million in the first 2 fights. Versus Julio Cesar Chavez, he did over 1 million homes because of the names, and people were attached to the storyline thinking it was going to be a better fight. So I said that to say this: why on earth would, at age 33, I think he might be 33 or 34, I know he just had a birthday, why would he drop down and wait for Terence Crawford? I get it. Crawford is a respected dude. He's #1 pound for pound. He's skilled as hell. He is at a good spot in his career. He just looked great versus Errol Spence. But again, this is boxing. This is not a video game. It's not a video game where you just grab 2 controllers and select player 1 and select player 2 and that's it. I mean, we got weight classes and these things exist for a reason. So it really makes no sense. I didn't understand the whole conversation, which is why I'm making this unpacked video. I've maintained the same things about this particular fight. I understand, possibly Shakur Stevenson made the spot hot for Terence Crawford because he did interviews and released statements saying that he's so confident in Bud that he believes Bud Crawford would beat Canelo Alvarez at any weight. Because if you listen to the interviews, at first Terence Crawford seemed like he understood that he was so far apart in weight from Canelo Alvarez to the point where the fight wasn't likely to happen. But then after Shakur Stevenson made that comment, and then he was going on mainstream media, not boxing media, because Terence Crawford doesn't necessarily do a bunch of interviews with boxing media. So he was going on places like Charlemagne the God and the Breakfast Club and stuff like that. And then after that point, they started asking him, and I don't think Crawford did a good job of dousing the flames, and to what to me I thought was an unrealistic fight to really be made for next. I don't think Crawford did a good job. Like if you listen to his interview on the Breakfast Club, you had Charlemagne in his ear And he keeps saying, oh, this is a big fight. It's a big fight though, bud. And he said the same thing to Canelo because they both were on the Breakfast Club in the last month or so, right? So I expected Crawford to kind of shut this kind of conversation down. It's very apparent when you're talking to casual boxing fans because they tend to think this is a game. Like if you listen to some of, and this is not a knock on Charlamagne, he seems like a cool dude, but you listen to some of the questions that Charlamagne is given on the Breakfast Club to boxers, he makes it sound like more or less like it's a video game. Like, oh, Terence Crawford, you want to fight Gervonta Davis? I mean, Gervonta Davis is a lightweight. Terence Crawford is at 147, and it sounds like he might be on the verge of moving up to 154. Why are we talking about that? And I felt the same way with Canelo and Terence Crawford as a conversation until Shakur made that comment, and then Bud said he would fight Canelo at 158 or 160, which was kind of out of nowhere. And to me, I'm not Bud's PR person. He could do whatever he wants. But to me, I think he should have just shut that down because it didn't sound realistic. And you had Bud Crawford who said to Tank Davis, no catch weights, probably because he can't make anything less than 147. But he said no catch weights to an A side like Gervonta Davis. He said, absolutely not. If you want to fight me, you come up to the full 147. But then to on the other side of the spectrum, to another A side, Canelo Alvarez, he said, I'll fight you at 160, a weight class that Canelo hasn't competed in a couple years, at least 5 years or so, and or fight me at a catch weight of 158. So to be honest, that's really hypocritical. And I'm surprised I seem to be the only one that brings these things up. Whatever. It's weird that you say Tank Davis is 5'5". Like Terence Crawford literally said this on the show. He said he's short. You know, he's only 5'5", so he's short for the division. You know, he's at 135. He only has one fight at 140, and he has a secondary belt at 135. And you're talking about his stature and how short he is. But then at the same time, you're saying, if you want to fight me, which I haven't heard him recently say anything about. He just got out of jail. You know, I think he's spending time with his family. But anyway, Gervonta hasn't really even said nothing recently about Crawford that I've seen. And this whole conversation, he's like saying it's a big fight. And if you want to fight me, fight at 147. But again, when it comes to Canelo, when someone's bigger than Crawford, he's telling them to come meet him at a catchweight. Canelo, he shut that down. Again, he said it multiple times. Hopefully people are over it now. Canelo says, I was born ready. He says, I cannot make 160. I cannot make 158. So the only way the fight would happen is if he came up to super middleweight. And that, to me, that just seems like a big ask, where it's already an ask, and we'll see how it plays out September 30th for Jermell Charlo, who's spent his career racking up bodies and now is undisputed at 154 pounds. But to ask the welterweight undisputed, who just beat Errol Spence, to move up to 168, it's just not going to happen. Now, if Crawford fought him at super middleweight, then he a bad muff, because I don't see that happening. Not if Canelo wins, let me put it like that. If Canelo looks good and looks the same and wins versus Charlo, I definitely don't see Terence Crawford moving up, bypassing all these weight classes. And there's usually a reason for that. It doesn't matter how skilled you are. When you start going up and disrespecting the weight classes, then a lot of times you're going to be in for a rude awakening. Not always. You know, it does happen. Roberto Duran and a couple isolated Sugar Ray Leonards and stuff like that. But I'm not talking about these old fights before the evolution of sports medicine and different things. Like, we know more about sports and athleticism and different supplements and conditioning and cryotherapy, all these different changes since back in the day when they were doing 15 rounders. So some of the fighters from yesteryear have done it, yes, but it's not usually done at the high level with people who have something to lose, because you just don't want to disrespect the weight class. Like, Andre Ward is a gold standard to me. The way he did it with Kovalev is how I believe you should do it. He said to HBO, let's do a 3-fight deal. I will fight Sergey Kovalev, no problem, but give me 2 startup fights, 2, if you want to call them tune-up fights, acclimation fights, so I could acclimate. And he fought Alexander Brand and Sullivan Barrera, who was an undefeated puncher at the time. And I was at all of those fights. Brand, I was at the Kovalev 1 and 2, and I was at Ward versus Sullivan Barrera. That's how you're supposed to move up in weight. But Crawford at 168, I really don't see it. And Canelo has made it abundantly clear he's not coming down. As he should, though. If we're really being honest, Canelo's the A side over Terence Crawford. He's undisputed right now. He's more popular and he sells more. So why would he come to a preferred weight of Crawford? It just doesn't make sense. He's not even doing that for an undisputed Jermell Charlo. What would Crawford have? I mean, Crawford, I guess he could say I'm a 2X undisputed, but undisputed is kind of undisputed. So at the end of the day, that's not enough leverage to make Canelo bend to your will and do what you want him to do. It just doesn't make sense. So hopefully this conversation is dropped and we can get back to more realistic fights. Possibly like Crawford versus Jerron Boots Ennis or Stanionis or Tim Tszyu or an Errol rematch, or just something that's more realistic. But I wanted to make this video and unpack it for you guys. Hopefully I explained it well. If you guys have additional questions, let me know in the comment section. I'm the best in the business. I'm making it look pretty and I make it look effortless because it is. And it's really not even close. So subscribe to the channel for more boxing content, long form, short form. Follow me at social media, Instagram at BoxingEgo1, all that good stuff. Links in the description. Holla at me. We unpack. A lot of people ask me what I use to create content. Things like YouTube thumbnails that generate thousands of views. For the first time ever, the cat is out of the bag. I use Canva Pro. But Canva Pro is so much more than a YouTube thumbnail maker. Use Canva Pro to curate content for YouTube, TikTok, Instagram Reels, Instagram Stories, and a whole lot more. Flyers, flowcharts, you name it, with Canva Pro. Click the affiliate link in the description to get Canva Pro. Many features, elements available to you. Take your brand to the next level. Invest in yourself. It takes money to make money. So sign up for Canva Pro today. Happy creations. Introducing Super Thanks. Right here on the official Boxing Ego YouTube. Super Thanks allows you, the viewers, to show a little bit of extra gratitude, which enables me as a full-time content creator to push out the content you need in the world of boxing. Underneath all the videos, you will see a heart with the $sign in it. You can enter any amount that you find suitable as a super thanks. A brand new interactive and colorful way to get your comments highlighted and noticed by not only myself, but other people on the YouTube platform. Super thanks, a unique and cool way to show and applaud us full-time content creators. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Super thanks. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.